I'm at a building construction in Dapa on the west end of town. And it's kind of unusual the way they do stuff. I think it's a piece of 1-inch rebar, I'll have to ask, but that's what they're using for lentils here. And there's 3 courses of block on top of it, and it looks like they bring it down. On the outside you can see the beam that goes across is that block up there is a full block on the outside. So when they form this and pour this, it looks like they bring it down a little bit on the inside when they fill in the cement. Probably makes that top block link into this column, so not as much weight is on that lentil there. So this looks like it's done. They probably form this and pour probably about half of this column with forming, and then tie it into the wall rebar, and then form another piece, and then fill it in as they go up to the top. And then once they've laid that top course of blocks, then they'll pour the column and form up the column. And on the other side of the building, you can see that they put braces and concrete nails into the wall, and there's your forms, and they fill it from the top, and they poke out the rebar. This place, I don't know what they're using for rebar here, but it looks like 10 millimeter. I wouldn't think it's any more than 10 millimeter. And the mortar joints are phenomenally thick. They got to be 2 inches thick on them. Some of them anyways, a lot of them 2 inches thick. And it's cocoa. It looks like coconut lumber underneath here. So I'll have to come back. I don't know if they leave this wood in. I think they might take it out. Maybe they leave it in. Very thick mortar joints. Here we can see in the bottom here how they held the forms on. I guess they would tie wire onto the rebar on the inside and hang the tie bar out, and then probably tie a piece of wood onto it. So you can see the wire sticking out of the wall. So this is how they hold the forms in place. So if you look all the way around, you can see tie wire sticking out. So so instead of anchoring into these blocks like you'd think you'd screw a form onto the wall, they're actually tying rebar off of the form and holding the forms on with it, and then filling it in, and then I guess just chop off the rebar, or chop off the tie wire. This is kind of interesting, and it looks like all 10 millimeter. Maybe it's 12 millimeter. I'll come back another day and have a look at it. It's an interesting concept. This place I think is about 24 foot by maybe 30 foot, 24 by 30. This will be a little bigger than the house I think I want to make for our house. And it looks like the rebar on the end, they're going to take the column all the way up to the top, and then that's going to come across. It's about every 8 feet. So they put one of these every 8 foot. So 8, 12. So maybe it's only 24 foot. Maybe it's only about 24 foot. And this will probably be a metal roofed house. So it doesn't look very level, but they're pretty good at smoothing stuff out here. That's 10 millimeter. That's a 10 millimeter, maybe 8 millimeter. That's an 8 millimeter supporting the walls. So 8 millimeter going across. It's unusual. It seems like it comes only to underneath the corner columns. These walls, I've seen these in earthquakes. without a lentil in here, they can shake like they're made out of rubber, and they'll go back and forth. Like come back and forth like this, and then break right across the windows, and the windows will fall out. Siargao did that. I don't know. This is a 4-inch block. From the looks of it, it looks like they used, that looks like Portland cement. These columns are definitely Portland cement, and the darkness of the mortar, it looks like it might be Portland cement too, or maybe just a darker. It's pretty hard. It's not like the usual stuff. The blocks tend to be funny here. Is the blocks tend to break in your hands, and the mortar tends to be harder. It's like the opposite of the way construction is done in the world. Usually blocks are hard and mortar's soft. There's an example of the rebar. I don't think it's even bigger than 1 inch. Yeah, that's 8mm. Maybe there's a couple pieces in there. That's an 8mm piece going across. There's got to be more than that. I think I'd want to put something in here that's at least 5 inches of concrete, straight all the way across with rebar in it. The notches are nice. That would be holding the wood over here. It's quite the learning experience. There's an example of the way the wood is tied in to hold the forms onto the rebar. So I guess that rebar, that tie wire goes all the way through to the other side and holds the form on the other side. And then they just give it a good twist, and it pulls it really tight. Enough that you can see if they do the top course of blocks really well and get it square, that nothing leaks through. It is pretty good. It certainly is a learning experience. A little bit extra help at the top. It looks like they put a piece across the top up here to link the two sides together, just to make it a little bit stronger. And it's a couple pieces of wire. It's doubled up the wire probably to give it more strength that holds the forms on. And it's about every 16 inches. These braces from each brace is about at every 16 inches. And this piece, this looks like it's obviously there's like a 2x2 piece underneath here, so it spaces it out 2 inches, and it gives them enough for consistency all the way around. Looks like it's all the same. I think this will be the way that I'm building the house. I think I might put steel lentils in though, like 2L molding that they use for the roof, and then weld them together in the center. So it's like an I-beam, but not really an I-beam, a T-beam. Well, Philippines building construction, a little different than in the West, but it's and here we go. Well, we can look at some more details here. Here is this is a pit in the middle here where it's got rain in it right now, but they're mixing their cement right in this hole. And this is the rebar bender. This is their tool for bending rebar. A nice wide platform. It's not very sturdy, but I think they're only bending 10mm with this to make it easier for them. And it's just high enough it's going out the window. Rebars will be sitting on the window ledge, and then they're over here bending them. And it's just held in with a couple nails. It's held in with a couple nails. And that, I believe that's 3/4. I think that's a 3/4. That's about the size of my finger. And of course a shelter, which piece of plywood for shelter and the forms. And the bracing, let's have a look at Well, it seems like every 3 feet, every 2 feet or so, they put the wire through. So you have to poke a hole through the plywood every 2 to 3 feet. I'm noticing around that it's just poked through the plywood. They probably just use a nail, nail a hole, pull the nail out in the form. Cordless drill might be really good for that. Well, very fascinating. And it's a terrible day today. It's raining. There's the ocean and pump boats. Well, I can't complain. Well, complaining would be the fact that I'm here in the Philippines. I'm not in Canada, and it's sandal weather and a little light rain, and it's middle of November, so it's not too bad.